Welcome back. Today I'm tackling the next step in my stitch and glue kayak build, the varnishing. To varnish this kayak I'm using the roll and tip method, so I'll need a paint roller with 4-inch foam rolls for smooth coverage and a 4-inch polyester brush for tipping off the finish. Since my garage is very dusty, the varnish I'm using is Total Boat Dust. It's specifically formulated to attract all the dust it possibly can while still providing that deep amber gloss. Just kidding, please don't sue me. But before I get into that old amber gloss, I've got a few things left to do. I need to lay out the positions for all my deck lines and also drill a bunch of holes, so let's start with that. I started by figuring out where I wanted my deck lines using blue painter's tape to get everything symmetrical. It's always something new every time. But that's how sausage is made. Once I was happy with the layout, I marked the spots and drilled 1/2-inch holes, which I then backfilled with thickened epoxy. This way the deck lines will be attached through a protective epoxy donut instead of through wood, which will prevent moisture from finding its way into the wood. Next I gave a final sanding with 220 and then 320 grit sandpaper. Then I wiped it down with denatured alcohol to get rid of dust and oils. This step is all about setting the stage for a flawless finish. Plus dust. It's setting the stage for a flawless, dusty finish. I've decided to add carrying handles to this boat, so before I do anything else I'm going to go ahead and get the holes drilled so that the rope can go through for the handle. I'll do it on the bow and also on the stern. Oh right, carrying handles. Can't forget that. Let's go drill those holes and put off the varnishing even further. Now, eventually you might have varnishing on your varnishing video, right? Hello? Hello? Yes?
I really hate that man.
I'm going to do the roll and tip method. First I roll it on, and then I tip it. When applying varnish, I like to divide the boat into smaller sections, and I work one section at a time. First rolling on the varnish lengthwise with the boat, and then across the section at a 90-degree angle to help even it out. Then I lightly drag the brush lengthwise all the way through the section from the dry side into and through the varnished section. This helps blend the varnished section with the previous section and pops the bubbles left by the foam roller. I then cross over to the other side of the boat and do the same thing on the other side. I move down the length of the boat doing each section on either side. For me, this is what it means to maintain a wet edge. Varnishing in this zigzag pattern means that the edge of the varnish never sits long enough to dry out. You don't want to work in too large a section at once. The size of each section will be determined by the working time of the varnish. Thinning the varnish will of course increase your working time, but temperature and humidity will also affect your working time. You will just have to feel your way through the first few coats to see for yourself what is best. By the time you get 6 or 7 coats on the hull, you will probably have it figured out. I always like to varnish the hull first as practice before doing the deck. I know it's dark in here, but there you go for the first coat. Could be worse. Say cheese. All right. Between coats of varnish, I do a wet sanding with water and 400 grit sandpaper. This knocks down dust and bugs and scuffs the surface to help the next coat bond to the previous coat. After sanding, I soak down the whole thing and wipe it down clean. I then soak down the whole thing and wipe it down clean. I then soak the whole thing and wipe it down clean. You picking up what I'm laying down here? Anyways, it's rinse and repeat, and from here, after it dries thoroughly, we start again. Work our way through 6 coats. So the hull now has 6 coats of varnish on it, and so I can start getting in on the deck. So I'm about to do the first coat of varnish on the deck. Underneath the edge of the tape, I'm putting little wads of paper towel just to hold the whole thing up, to be a shelf for drips, so that anything that might run down would come here and just drip off instead of hitting the already varnished hull. Brilliant. I also stuffed some paper towels into the drain hole for the skeg control knob slot. So down in there, the varnish won't be able to run down and get on the hull. I think we're ready. Well, that's going to do it for now. We've got the whole thing shined up, and all that's left is to put on the little fiddly bits. So stay tuned, and we'll get on that in the next one. But thank you very much for watching, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. So, later.